without further ado, I humbly and excitedly welcome Senator Eileen Flynn, who is the first Irish traveller elected to the Irish Senate, and Eileen is going to deliver our keynote address today. Eileen, welcome to the Traveller Movement. It's great to see you there. And may I just give a little bit further information about your background? Born and raised in Dublin, you made history in June when you were elected to the Irish Senate. You have been celebrated and applauded across England and Ireland and across the Traveller Movement. You're a mum, a graduate of Trinity College and Maynooth University. You've been involved with the Traveller Movement, the National Women's Forum and Traveller Action Programme. You campaign on all the important issues that we believe in, and you have a stated objective around mental health, unemployment and opportunities and hate crime in relation to travellers. We are delighted to welcome you, and we want to hear your inspiring story.
Thanks very, very much, Pauline, and thanks to the Traveller Movement for inviting me here today. I very much appreciate it. And to every traveller in Ireland and England are very proud that a traveller was able to get into the House of Oireachtas on her own, and was able to become something if you want, you know. In my house growing up as a child, everybody would say all we'll ever be is out travellers. We never grow up to be anything or never go and get big jobs or anything. And I know where that vision comes from, and that vision is a vision I had myself for a very, very long time. So just to say that, and the barriers are very real for many travellers, especially in the political system, in education, in employment, in accommodation. For me, as the first traveller woman senator here in Ireland, I the last 6 months has been overwhelming, full of celebration. For me, I started off 10 years ago as a woman, a traveller activist. Basically what I do is I fight for, or I challenge the society when it comes to issues that impacts and the traveller community, and especially traveller women. I was a big advocate for women's rights, for the women's movement here in Ireland since 2015, and I continue to do that today. For me, growing up in Laborie Park as a halting site, and some of them barriers as you face as a young woman, you know, the barriers of racism, the barriers of discrimination, of being rejected, and we all know they can lead to damaging your mental health, your well-being, your opportunities to be able to be successful. Just to say to people that the Seanad is a bit like the House of Lords, but it's not genetic. Like it doesn't, you don't have to vote because your daddy voted or your mammy got a vote in. So in here it's done a little bit more politically, and that's what it means. So it's the upper house of Leinster House here. Just, you know, we all know as traveller people the issues that impact on our community. Accommodation being a big problem here in Ireland, where local authorities are not drawing down money for traveller accommodation. Next Tuesday, there will be a debate in the Seanad around traveller accommodation, and it's brilliant to be in there, to be able to have that platform and to be able to talk truth to power. And what you said earlier on, Pauline, our voice, our truths, and that's what I'm doing here in the House of Oireachtas, and I'm doing it for travellers in England, in Ireland, also for Gypsy people, Roma people, people from other ethnic minority groups that need a voice. And I'm also very aware that I'm not, like, you know, we're all different. We're allowed to be different, but we all should be treated with equal value in the world. And that's how I see how the world should treat travellers. And again, it's to standing in solidarity with all ethnic minority groups. And for me, as a traveller woman, while there's additional barriers outside traveller community, we also have to be very mindful of the barriers within our own community, those barriers that we face as a community of people, and the internalized of, like, you know, let's empower our young people. Let's empower our young traveller people and tell them they can go on and be anything they want to be. Although we know as adults that those equal opportunities are not there to date, but let's give our young people imagination. Let's leave our young people in school. Leave our young people go on to secondary school. Education is the key for the traveller community. Education opens up your eyes to the world. Us, the traveller community, I know my family, we always valued education, but we never had equal access to education. We never had equal opportunities to be successful within the education system. Today in Ireland, we have a load of access routes to university. We have equal access to schools, but it's about the child being able to be successful within that system, you know, and those additional barriers that come for traveller children, like accommodation, bad health, not getting equal access to some of the health services and stuff. Look, again, for me, and I know for everybody that's here today, there's so much inequalities that we face as a community of people, so much hatred as a community of people. And if you want to say, I don't know, I seen John there, and I know John for many years from being involved in the movement here in Ireland, and you know, not many things has changed for our community over the decades. I wouldn't mind the years, you know, while if you want to say, we're seen now to be able to have equal access, but again, it is genuinely about that opportunity to be able to be successful. That's what it is. That's what I think it is for everybody. But has much changed for our community? Just because there's one member of the traveller community in Ireland who's in the House of the Oireachtas doesn't mean that we have equality, and we have a long way to go before we have equality in Ireland. If you want to say that racism towards the traveller community here and in England also is normalised, it's okay to be racist towards the traveller community or towards the Roma community or the Roma community, people from some ethnic minority groups. But I find, as a traveller woman, it's very normalised to be racist towards us, and it's very if you want to say, like, you know, people don't think before they talk and don't think of the impact of racism and discrimination that has within with us as young people, even as adults growing up. You know, for me, becoming a new mother, I just overcame postnatal depression as well. And within our community, you know, traveller men are 7 times more likely to die by suicide than men in the general population. Traveller women 7 times more likely to die by suicide than women in the general population. Travellers are 9 times more likely to end up homeless than the general population. Traveller women, you know, like all these stats, if you want to say, you feel like you're actually, if you want to, I feel like a bit in mass, you know, talking to the people who's in the church who showed up, who's already is religious, you know, that kind of way. So it's a bit like that for me this morning, and you know, to have the opportunity to be part of this conference today, I'm privileged. And I do, just to say to people, I do have a very privileged job at the minute, just to say that. And if you want to say, I do feel to a certain extent pigeonholed, you know, that I'm here to look after the travellers, I'm the traveller senator, and that takes away the responsibility from other TDs and senators here in the Oireachtas. So for me, it's about getting them to share some of the work that needs to be done. I'm doing a lot of work with local authorities around accommodation, as I've already said, but really right now I'm the senator of 40,000 travellers, as well as dealing along with some issues that impact people within the settled community. So for me, it's about not being pigeonholed, and it's about working for the best interest for our community as a whole in England and in Ireland, and for the wider society also. Sorry, there's a bell going off, and that's to go into the house, but I'm not there now. So yeah, it just, that bell is a bit noisy, so it's interrupting us. Sorry. Yeah, so for me, Pauline, just going back into the rest of the movement, sorry, it is about being here now and really implementing some change, being part of implementing the traveller mental health action plan, getting hate crime legislation across. Now, hate crime legislation looks, it sounds easy, but from my research and from the work to date, it's not an easy piece of legislation. You know, it'll take an awful lot of hard work. We've done 5 months work on it, 5 months research, and we are in the process of forming a bill for spring, and publishing it in spring. We do know that other politicians are also working on a hate crime legislation bill, but to the best of my knowledge, it wouldn't, not one shoe fits all, and it needs to be explored a little bit more. So we are working on hate crime legislation at the moment, and it doesn't matter if my name is to that bill or not to it, but it's about a bill that works for the traveller community and also people from other ethnic minority groups and the LGBTQI plus community. Can I just one of my messages for when I spoke about some of the inequalities and internalised oppression. This year, the Irish Traveller Movement had, and the other national organisations had a Pride Week, and we focused our Pride Week on celebrating traveller culture and diversity within. Meant by the diversity was like, you know, there's people within our community who are gay, who are lesbian, who are trans. There's people within our community who married people outside of our community. There's people in our community with disabilities. There's people in our communities who are different, and we have to accept each other's difference as a community of people also. And you know, what hurts me very much is when I see the term a real traveller. But what a real traveller? I don't know what a real traveller is. To me, studies have shown that you're born a member of the traveller community, and that's what makes you a traveller. You know, you're no less a traveller if you go off to university. You're no less a traveller if you're LGBTQI plus. You're no less a traveller if you don't live in a trailer. You're no less of like, there's no right way to be a traveller person. You know, so that there is my message to the traveller community today, and to not give up in speaking our truth and speaking, putting our truth to power, you know. And I don't believe we can be anything we want to be when we put our minds to it, because we don't have the equal access, we don't have the opportunities. But as a community of people, if we work together and give each other a hand up and keep supporting each other and speak up for the better good and don't be judging each other, and well, then, you know, we can create those pathways for ourselves and to empower each other to do better every single day. Sorry, Pauline, this noise in the background is just really disturbing me.
Thank you. Well, you know, we're certainly part of the Senate in hearing that. You know, truth to power, Lisa Smith has just said, thank you so much for that speech. You are so empowering. And I take very seriously, and I've been on the